Hello, happy Saturday! It is time for weekend session number 3. I am walking there right now, super excited! Yay! Gonna go meet my friend Sarah, then we're gonna walk together. Got my coffee and I'm ready to go! Yay! It's a beautiful day! Hello! So we just finished the first day of our 3rd weekend session. And I should point out that this weekend session is all for one of our courses. It's WLED 483, that the WLED stands for World Language Education. And this class is all about evaluating schools' performance and programs with regards to like ESL students. So I'll share the textbook that we're using. So it's Advocating for English Learners, a Guide for Educators by Diane Fenner. So we read a few chapters before class, and we completed an active listening guide or active reading guide. So we came to class prepared, learning about different ways that we can advocate for ESL students in our classroom, outside of our classroom, in the school, in the district as a whole, and then outside of the district. So the text focused on starting small and then focusing on how change can happen through like a ripple effect. So starting small and then working your way up as an educator to get towards making a bigger impact. But so the text also focused on advocacy as a scaffold. So the ultimate goal is to be able to empower English language learners and their families to be able to advocate for themselves. But as educators, we see that they might not be able to do that right away by themselves. So just how you can scaffold instruction, we learned that you can scaffold advocacy. So giving students and their families the tools to be able to advocate for themselves is important, and like putting them in place, but then knowing when to like remove those supports so that way students and their families feel empowered to be able to stand up for themselves and be their own champions. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Today we had a packed day, so I'll tell you a little bit about what our schedule was like. So we started at 9 o'clock in the morning like usual. We did an icebreaker, so we all talked about advocacy. So we all defined advocacy from our own standpoint and gave an example of ways that we've seen advocacy in practice in our educational experiences. And then we talked about the syllabus, got a little overview of what was to come for the weekend. And yeah, so then we had a presentation. One of our instructors, John, he just became a doctor, so great job, John. He defended his dissertation, which is so exciting, and he must be so proud of himself. But yeah, back on track. So we talked about demographics and diversity among ELLs. We learned about like the percentage of language learners in the United States and like how the population differs across states, different ways that language learners are diverse. So thinking about socioeconomic status, their national origin, their immigration status, their culture, what experiences they bring to the classroom, how language learners differ from other language learners, and how language learners differ from non-language learners. So you can't classify language learners as like one whole group. Well, you can, but it's important to realize that there are a lot of differences within that group. So we were talking about that too. And then after that, we did a little game about the federal and state policies that we read about in our homework. We played a game and we were in teams and identifying different policies, so like the Bilingual Education Act. We learned about more important court cases. So for example, Lau versus Nichols, and just kind of like reiterating and reviewing what we read to make sure that like we have the knowledge about these important cases that have made an impact and have shaped how this program has really come to be. And yeah, so then we took our little lunch break. And then after that, we came back. Oh, and we talked about family engagement, which was great. We did a fishbowl activity. So we had 4 chairs in the middle of a circle, or no, 5 chairs, and 4 people would sit in them, and 1 chair was open. And anybody who wanted to join the discussion from the outer circle was able to come and sit in that empty chair and share. So our other instructor came then for the afternoon, Elizabeth, and she would pose a few questions, and we would all take turns like taking seats inside the fishbowl. And so we talked about our experiences with family engagement and what that looked like in our K through 12 experience. And then we honed in the conversation and geared it more towards language learners. So we talked about examples of involving language learners' families in their child's education. And we also talked about barriers and reasons why they might not be engaged, because these are really important things to consider. I mean, the family is a crucial resource that you have to include, because the family has a wealth of knowledge, and really emphasizing the importance of educators and families like teaming up together. That was really important today. And then after that, we looked at some more resources online. So Colorín Colorado and the TESL website. So there were 6 different resources that we focused on, and like each resource had a different topic. So my group focused on connecting with ELL families. So we looked at a resource on Colorín Colorado, and we made a little poster presentation just summarizing what the resource said. So we defined like what is connection with ELL families, and then why is it important. We talked about how you can connect with ELL families, and then the benefits of connecting with them, because it is really important. So we explained that connecting with ELL families is like making meaningful relationships with them, that convey that like as educators we really do care about them and their student, and that we want the relationship to be like a team and an equalized one too, making sure that both parties, like both the family and the educator, feel like their voices are heard, and that their children's success is the most important thing, and like their happiness too. Yeah, and then the day came to an end. It feels like, in my description, it feels like we didn't cover a lot, but I'll tell you, we covered a lot today, so it was great. Looking forward to tomorrow, though. It's already Sunday, so I will update about tomorrow's session. Hello! I just wanted to come on and talk about the Sunday part of the weekend session. I'm not in Chambers building right now. I'm at home. Normally, I'm in Chambers on the bridge in my favorite area when I take these videos. But yeah, I just wanted to come on and talk a little bit about Sunday. It was definitely shorter, and the time just flew by so quick, but that means that you're having fun if the time flies by. So yeah, Sunday we met from 9 to 1, and we got started a little bit late, just because our instructor let us come 10 minutes late since we went over a little bit on Saturday, which was really nice of him. So yeah, he was respecting our time. But we started off the morning by finishing our policy game that we played on Saturday. So talking about like policy in Pennsylvania surrounding ESL programs. Then we started talking about different program models that exist for ESL programs. We had to write about the program for one of our assignments for class. So most of us talked about the pull-out method, and that's basically when the ESL teacher pulls out a student or a group of students for individual or smaller group instruction in language learning for English. It's not the best method because it doesn't really provide instruction in the student's first language or second, or whatever language is primarily spoken at home. So that's problematic. But I mean, there are benefits and drawbacks to most of the models that we talked about. Other ones include newcomer programs, sheltered English immersion, The pullout, like I said, developmental bilingual and transitional bilingual. Yeah, and then we went into talking about assessment for language learners, so that was really interesting. I find assessment like very intriguing, just because we were talking about reliability versus validity, and so when you're thinking about reliability, you're thinking about the consistency of the test, and when you're thinking about validity, you're thinking about the accuracy of what the test is measuring. So, for example, if you're going to be testing a language learner on like factoring in math, but they don't understand the language of the question, you're not really assessing them on their ability to do the math. You're assessing them on their language proficiency. So that's problematic. So making sure that we're providing accommodations for students so that way they can demonstrate their knowledge and understanding of what we're actually trying to assess them. So I thought that was really interesting. I was thinking about maybe using that topic, assessment of language learners, for my inquiry question for class. I guess it's classes since we're taking 4, but I just kind of refer to them as one class. But yeah, right now my inquiry question is kind of all over the place just because I don't know how to focus it, because I'm interested in a lot of different things, like differentiating instruction because language levels are so different, and also looking at like how you can like see the different strategies that students are using to be able to learn the language in the classroom, and like their motivation. Yeah, there's a lot of cool things to do, so I have a hard time choosing. And now, like when we were talking about assessment on Sunday, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Like, and it's real because like you want to ensure that you're actually assessing students on what you're intending to assess them on, because then like the data that you get from those assessments is invalid and unreliable if it's not. So yeah, it's definitely complicated, but I think that makes it more fun to deal with. But yeah, so that was pretty much our whole morning. We did watch a little video clip about assessment, and it was like a student taking a standardized test, and he wasn't provided with the appropriate accommodations, so he couldn't demonstrate his knowledge of math. And it's really sad because this is what happens to many students. So, like as a future ESL teacher, like making sure that I'm advocating for my students and ensuring that they are getting the accommodations that they deserve is really important. And having the knowledge that like they can get accommodations is extremely important too, because you don't know what you don't know. So learning about it is super important. But yeah, that was pretty much it for Sunday. So we have one more weekend session, which is crazy, and then we go to Ecuador. So I'm really excited for that. So far, the coursework this summer has been a lot of fun too. It's just been a lot of reading and reflecting, so it's a lot of fun. I'll keep you updated for the next time.